Story time with Fergie and friends.
Hello, and it's Fergie and friends, and it's story time. And hello, mums and dads, aunts and uncles, granny and grandpa. Well, isn't it an extraordinary time with the spring and the little lambs and the sheep, and everything is so beautiful, and it's great to see the buds, and off we go. When we went wild. Nancy and Jake were farmers. They ploughed their fields and planted crops. They milked their cows and fed their pigs. They did what all good farmers do. Yes, here they are. Here's Nancy and Jake wandering around, looking after all their animals. They sprayed chemicals on the crops to help them grow. Sprayed more chemicals to kill the insects that might eat the crops, and even more chemicals to kill the weeds and thistles that grew in between. They bought big, expensive machines to help them spray and harvest the crops and milk the cows. The machines looked like something from a space station. But even though they tried to do everything right, the pigs looked sad, the cows looked sad, and even the trees looked sad. Well, I think Nancy and Jake looked sad too. No flowers grew, no bees buzzed, and when it rained, all the animals had to stay inside as the fields turned to sticky, stuggy, stodgy mud. When the bills for all the chemicals and the big, expensive machines came in, Jake and Nancy looked sad too. "I don't know how we're going to pay these," Jake said. No, they do look very sad. Oh dear. One day, among the bills, a glossy leaflet arrived. It was for a wild animal safari in Africa. Oh, how fab is that? The animals and the tourists looked like they were having a lovely time. But an expensive holiday was beyond Jake and Nancy's wildest dreams. But then Nancy had an idea. If we can't go to the wilderness, let's bring it here. Let's go wild. Well done. That's fantastic, Nancy. So they sold the big shiny machines and they sold the metal drums full of chemicals. And with the money, they paid their bills. Well done, Nancy and Jake. Excellent. Then they waited. It didn't take long for things to change. Well, I still don't think the cows look very happy, do you? So they waited. With the chemicals gone, wild flowers sprang up and bees and butterflies and beetles hummed and buzzed in the air. Without the constant ploughing, the land didn't turn to mud, and messy tangles of brambles and wild roses grew, and the birds made their nests among the thorns. Even nightingales that had flown all the way from Africa returned to sing their burbling song. How beautiful is that? Well, this is very good news. Anyway, let's see. The cows and the pigs thought it was the best thing ever. The cows loved nibbling the tasty leaves from the bushes, and the pigs plunged into ponds and got fat, gorging on worms and acorns. They didn't miss their shed one bit. Nancy and Jake were so happy they thought everyone would be happy too. But their neighbours were not pleased at all. Oh, well, of course, you can never please everyone, can you? No. Look at the mess they've made. It's nothing but brambles and weeds. They've spoilt our view. It's so noisy, the birds keep me awake at night. What? How extraordinary is that? They wrote angry letters to the local newspaper, the Farm Life Weekly. Wildflowers ruining landscape. Too much nature on this country farm. Well, that's a bit extraordinary, isn't it? Oh, they look very angry people. Nancy and Jake were really worried. Oh dear, they might be forced to use chemicals again. The wildflowers, the bees, the butterflies and the birds would all disappear, and the cows and pigs would go back into their sheds and be sad. They wondered what to do. Oh dear. Then a terrible storm blew in. It began to rain, and rain, and rain, and rain. And all across the country, rivers burst their banks. People's homes were flooded and cars and motorbikes bobbed downstream. Breaking news. Rain brings flash floods across the country. Nancy and Jake, what are they going to do? In a panic, the neighbours built walls of sandbags around their homes, and as they prepared for the floods to reach them. But the floods never came. The rain stopped, and the farm and the village looked like nothing had ever happened. All the new trees and flowers on the farm had drunk up the rain. The unploughed soil had soaked in the water like a sponge and protected the houses around the farm. The neighbours scratched their heads. Perhaps going wild is a good thing after all, they thought. Well, yes, I think so. Look, isn't that lovely? It looks like a lovely place now, doesn't it? Clever old Nancy and Jake. They began to enjoy the bird song and the insects buzzing, and they laughed at the pigs splashing about in the ponds. And they stopped using chemicals in their gardens to kill the insects and the weeds, and stopped mowing their lawns all the time. They let the grass grow and stopped trimming the hedges back to the bone. They looked around at the trees and hedges bursting with life. Well, what a lovely story this is. Well done indeed. What were we thinking? They said. Let's all go wild. And sure enough, they went wild. And how beautiful is that? Because look at the village now bursting with flowers and lots of love and light. And if you want to know more about it, well, Isabella Tree, at the back of this book, there's a note on rewilding. Go wild. How lovely is that? The first picture book from Isabella Tree, who's a conservationist and a best-selling author of wilding. Thank you. Well done, Nancy and Jake.
With Fergie and friends, with Fergie and friends.